Hey everyone, welcome to Marketing for Designers podcast. I'm your host, Masha Coyne, a messaging strategist and a copywriter for the interior design industry. I've been marketing for what feels like forever in my past career at some of the biggest global firms like KPMG and Deloitte. Today, I write website copy for designers using my signature voice of customer framework. If you're a designer looking to up your marketing game and attract premium clients, this podcast is for you. Each week on the show, we're going to be talking all things marketing, from branding to messaging to social media, SEO, and so much more. So you can have all the tools you need to grow your business and attract your dream clients. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Marketing for Designers podcast. So today I've got a special guest to talk to us all about Pinterest for interior designers. I'm going to be learning as much as you are because while I know how important Pinterest is, I've never actually took the time to incorporate it into my own marketing strategy, simply because I don't know a lot about it. But I want to because I heard how impactful it is, especially for SEO, aka being found online. So buckle up. I think it'll be super interesting. And my guest today to talk about Pinterest is Emanuela Schneider. She is the founder of Marketing Interiors by ES, a creative organization that specializes in marketing strategies and management for the home industry. Brazil, Canada, and the US are all the places she's called home, and even dealt with renovation challenges twice in Brazil. I feel like I want to know more about that, but maybe that's for another time. She's a social media strategist with an editorial approach and love for all things interior design and coffee. Welcome to the show, Emanuela.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Me too. I'm excited about this conversation. So I'll be very honest about the fact that I know very little about Pinterest. I am hanging out in a lot of marketing circles, so obviously I know how important it is. And while I know it's effective and important, I'm not sure how or why. So I am ready to learn more about it. So why don't you help us understand why Pinterest helps with SEO and how interior designers can integrate Pinterest in their marketing strategy. So maybe we start with, how does Pinterest help with SEO?
So Pinterest is actually a search engine platform. It's not a social media platform. I know that most interior designers actually use it even for their clients, to organize folders for like mood boards, things like that. But the way that basically they use it, they could be using that in a marketing strategy. So basically putting in keywords, SEO keywords. So basically, I'm going to try to reword this. Everything in Pinterest is searchable on Google. So even your bio, the designer's bio is searchable. The pin descriptions are searchable. The board descriptions are searchable. And the more that you fill it up with actual relevant information that people might search for, the more that actually you can receive website clicks and Google juice.
And are we saying that people actually go on Pinterest and use it as a search, as Google, or are we saying they search on Google, which they're used to, but if you've got all the relevant things and all the relevant SEO keywords in your Pinterest, then your Pinterest and your other, marketing channels come up? Which one is it? Is it that they use Pinterest or they search on Google, or both?
It's actually both. Yeah, which is why I actually, in one of the topics that I put in, it was why it's so confusing to use Pinterest Analytics, because there are the Pinterest Analytics, and if you do use it in a marketing sense, you can see the results in the Pinterest website, but you won't see all the results because it is a SEO platform. So you might see those results in Google Analytics because you will be seeing more Google searches, not just Pinterest results.
And the reason why you see Google searches is because of Pinterest?
Exactly. Yeah. Either way, they will be, if a potential client, searches those specific keywords on Google, they will find the Pinterest link, not just a random Google link, but it will come up as a Pinterest link on Google. So Google gives priority basically to Pinterest and, these Pinterest SEOs. So either way, they're going to, go to your Pinterest, but even then they might go from your Pinterest to your website.
Mm-hmm. Can you maybe give us an example of how it works? Like, let's create like a fake pin or whatever it's called. I'm probably not using the right terminology for that, but walk us through an example of how it actually works, how you creating something on Pinterest using the right keywords and how it comes up in a search on Google.
Yep. Let's see, farmhouse kitchen. We can go with that. So basically, if you want to do a farmhouse kitchen, you as your potential client is looking for a farmhouse kitchen remodel or things like that. You as an interior designer, you're going to use all of these keywords. So, farmhouse kitchen, rustic wood, farm sink, very pretty kitchen faucets. So different types of kitchen brass faucets, things like that. And then you're going to add all of this information into the pin description, but also your design firm name, your location, which locations you want to target, things like that, because you don't want just like, if you're an interior designer in Arizona, you don't want a random person from New York looking for a farmhouse kitchen remodel. You want someone in your state, someone local. So you're going to fill it up with all of these things that your ideal client can actually search for. And that way, once they search for that on Google, they're going to find your pin. And once they find your pin, if they do like, what they see, what they read, then they're going to click on your website and see if you have, available services or when you're actually, ready for a project. That is one way that you could go. If you also have a shop, for example, then it's also even more simple because you can just add these specific products. So, farm sink, the kitchen faucets, add all those in your pin, and then your ideal client or ideal shopper can just go in and buy those from Pinterest itself.
But right. So in that first instance, that pin, is that a photo of a work that links to a project page, or is that just linking to a website in general? Like, what's that pin? What does that pin look like? Is that the portfolio work, I'm assuming?
Yes, you definitely want to use your own projects, your own products or your own interior design projects. And in the link, it could be, so this is when it depends on, what your marketing goals are. It could be your own website. So if you want like, hey, I want an ideal client to book more projects, then you're going to put the link of your website in there. So they can just, find it and say like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. This is the type of project that I want in my own home. And then they go and book a call with you. If they're interested, jump on your website and book a call with you. If your marketing goal is different, for example, if you just want more Instagram followers, if you want more newsletter signups, if you want just, connections on LinkedIn, everything depends on what your actual marketing goal is. But then you basically use the link, as that main differentiation factor. So you can put your actual Instagram page in the link and then you'll get more followers. I know a lot of social media managers that actually do that. They don't receive, those really, really big pages on Instagram that have like millions of followers. Most of them don't even come from Instagram itself. They come from SEO platforms, so Google or Pinterest, because they just basically use this consistency of SEO in their marketing strategy. And so they go from Pinterest to Instagram and basically get followers that way.
So I feel like you said something important there where it all depends on what your marketing goal is. And that determines what's the call to action and what's the tactic that you use. So maybe that's a good segue to talk about what should you consider or how should you consider Pinterest if it's for you, for your marketing. I feel like what I would love for you to say is if you are that type of designer looking for such and such, then Pinterest is for you. How would you pre-qualify if Pinterest is the right strategy or is the right thing or channel or marketing tactic to use platform to use in your marketing strategy?
So that's actually something even important that I heard in one of your podcast episodes with Daniela, right? Yeah, basically, you want to be where your ideal clients are. So Pinterest is actually perfect for those high-end luxury clients. If you're looking for, those smaller, just room-to-room projects, they're not going to be that. I know we use like a luxury farmhouse kitchen as an example, but obviously that's not going to be it. It's just an example. Like if your ideal client is going to do a farmhouse home remodel, and then they're going to look for that kitchen specifically. But room to room or even just like styling projects is not the ideal. Pinterest is not going to be the ideal place for you. It is mainly for luxury services and even luxury products, because basically the way that it works on these demographics are that people actually, those high end consumers that have even more than 100,000 coming in a year actually shop there. Whereas, we're in those room to room and styling projects, people usually go on Instagram, but the high end ones usually shop on Pinterest or even Google.
Interesting. So why is that? Why are we drawing distinction between room to room or just like a single room renovation or redesign project versus the entire home remodel? Why do you say that Pinterest is the right for that kind of more luxury, higher end project or homeowner looking to redesign their entire home?
It is completely just because of the statistics of the Pinterest users. I think around 90% of Pinterest users are actually, looking for a big project to tackle and to actually consume something, to buy something. They're not in it just to like, oh, this is pretty and let's save all these aesthetics. They're in it to actually shop something or, to look for different services. I'm saying around 90, but it could be, like 85. So it's way more than half of the percentage. And also I feel like Pinterest is easier for these high-end audience because it has a lot of these beautiful images already. It is completely an image-centric platform. It is just easier for them to just create something that they want. Basically, if they're looking for a luxury high-end aesthetic, they're going to save everything in that folder specifically, which is basically why you want to fill all of these pins with keywords and everything. Because even if your ideal client doesn't necessarily go to your website, they're still saving your pins. And the more that people save, the more that, your content is being reshared. So even if your ideal client doesn't necessarily go to your website, they're still helping you find the next ideal client because they're resharing your content.
Interesting. Okay. And so maybe that's a good segue into how do interior designers get started with Pinterest? Let's say they've never used it before. It's not part of their strategy. And they've identified what you just shared that, okay, they are a luxury higher end interior designer and most of their client base are looking to remodel an entire home rather than room to room. How do they get started? What's the first step that they need to consider?
High-end photography, for sure. I don't think Pinterest really values low-end photography. And, if you want those high-end ideal clients, then you're going to want a beautiful styled project. So that's the one thing. The other thing is definitely finding your ideal client, where they actually go to on basically on Google, where they shop, even if it's local, what supermarkets do they go to? What stores do they frequent? What cars are they interested in? All of those things. And then also obviously the location, basically finding your ideal client avatar. So everything that has to do with your ideal client, you have to study that really, really hard. Basically, the more that you go in depth to find your ideal client, the more effective that Pinterest marketing is going to be. So the two things is basically the two main things: high-end photography, studying your ideal client, and then actually finding those SEO keywords and just actually putting it into the Pinterest boards and descriptions and revamping your entire bio.
Can you provide us some examples or explanation in terms of what the difference is between the Pinterest board and pin and all those kind of fundamentals that you need to know about Pinterest?
Yeah, let's go back to the farmhouse example. The Pinterest bio is actually just going to be, who you are as an interior designer, where you're located. It's the main page, your main page. And so even that is still searchable. So you want to actually put in those keywords and locations so your ideal clients can target you, can find you. And then the example for the farmhouse is you create a board of farmhouse inspiration. And inside that board, you're going to put everything that has to do with farmhouse. If you want something that's more traditional, then you put another board, create another board that is traditional interiors. But you should actually go way more in depth in that. Inside that board that you're going to put farmhouse, you'll have, farmhouse kitchen, a farmhouse bedroom, farmhouse lighting. But that's obviously, you just want to start that way. Once you actually get going into the marketing strategy and the marketing, funnel, you want to create way more specific boards. So, farmhouse lighting is just going to be one. And then you put all of these farmhouse lighting inspirations, which are your pins. You're going to put all of these individual pins into that board. And then each of these individual pins are going to have your keywords that you want to target your ideal clients with. But also in your board, you do want to also have a revamping of your keywords, which is why I even asked, in one of the topics that we talked about is, I think it would be wonderful if you as a copywriter could actually create, those copy pin descriptions and board descriptions, because you want to create something actually enticing and engaging. You not just like boring keywords. You don't want to stuff it with just keywords all the way. You want to create something that, someone can find more about you, but also it's interesting enough that they want to click on your website. That is the goal here. You want to add calls to action also at the end of all your pins. Click on the link to follow me on Instagram, or click on the link to see if when we have, more projects available, when we're booking new projects. So you always want to stuff that as well with keywords. Sorry, you don't want to stuff it with keywords. You want to add,
Right.
You want to add it with a call to action and create something more interesting and engaging, but also natural. You don't want it to be forced, because all of this is all organic marketing. And so you want someone to just find your content and say, hey, this is beautiful. I'm going to go more into these pins, and then, find it interesting enough and see that you are in their location that they want to go to your website.
So it does sound like you're approaching Pinterest and Pinterest or the messaging that you are integrating into your Pinterest, almost like you are approaching your website copy. It's not just straight up copy describing whatever it is you see on that pin, but it's written in a compelling way, using a bit of strategy, using various audience insights about your ideal audience, and including a call to action, whatever that call to action is for your business based on the strategy.
Exactly. It also has a lot to do with branding. You want to use your brand voice in the Pinterest pins and in the Pinterest board and in your Pinterest bio. You don't want to go off brand, and you want to use the words that your ideal clients actually like.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Okay. So we know what their starting point is. It sounds like you can have multiple boards, multiple pins inside each of the boards, depending on the various aspects of that, let's say, kitchen farmhouse. And what happens? Can you speak a bit about how does that Pinterest strategy fit into the overall funnel, into the overall marketing? It doesn't just exist in a silo, from what I understand. It kind of has to fit into your overall marketing and your overall marketing goals, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It has to do a lot with, if you are using it as a marketing tactic, you want to use it inside your customer journey. So you want to see, I'm pretty sure Daniela talked about that too, but you want to see, where your customers actually start. And then even create different boards and pins around that. So you can create one that's just, they're kind of like finding out about what they want. That's more generic and more general. And then if you do study your customer journey and you understand, hey, this is already the process where they know they want an interior designer and they just don't know who to get, then you create different copy and pins and boards based on that. But you could also create a mix of that, which is, in my opinion, the best marketing strategy. But basically, inside the marketing funnel, you're going to define where their customer journey is. So, hey, are they going first on Google to just find out, if they want an interior designer or if they need an interior designer, or are they going on Instagram first, or are they going on LinkedIn first, or are they even just asking for, next door referrals? And then based on that, you're going to create a marketing funnel, but you should also be using it basically as its own. You're going to have a marketing funnel separately, but then inside Pinterest, you're going to have your own marketing funnel. So you can and should be using it in connection, merging with all of these other platforms. So some pins are going to be on your website, some pins are going to be for your Instagram, some pins are going to be for, basically SEO Google juice. And then based on that, based on if you want more Instagram follows, if you want more website clicks, if you want people to actually sign up for your newsletters, if you want, local clients, then you're going to use it completely differently and in a strategic way where you're going to be sending these ideal clients to the next customer journey. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I feel like what I'm hearing is it's very important to really understand what is your goal at the end of the day, and then you determine what that call to action is for all of your pins. If your goal is to drive traffic to your Instagram, to grow your following, or just get people on your Instagram to become followers and to continue learning about your brand, then all of your pins or a majority of your pins would go to your Instagram, would link to your Instagram. That would be the call to action. But if your goal is to drive traffic to your website, then obviously you link it to your website. Am I hearing you correctly?
You are, yeah. There are a lot of designers who come my way and basically say, oh, we have a completely, we want to get a bigger audience, but we also want to book more projects, but we also want more clicks. And each of these goals are going to be a different strategy. So if you want more website clicks, you're going to use a lot more keywords, branded keywords, and a lot, branded copy. If you want more impressions, then you're going to, be using more video pins and more engaging graphics. If you want more Instagram follows, then you're going to, be pinning your Instagram content, and also website is going to be your Instagram page. So basically, I would just actually get a pen and paper and draw out what your actual goals are for marketing, because Pinterest is such a big platform that you shouldn't just be using it for one thing. You can be using it for multiple things, but you want it to be organized and not chaotic, which is why I would get a pen and paper and actually jot down all of your goals and how you're going to use the Pinterest platform to actually, follow your goals.
Okay. And what are you finding when your own interior design clients come to you to get help with Pinterest? What are you finding what their goals are? What's the biggest thing that interior designers are looking for? Is it always like multiple things, or is it typically one thing that they're trying to achieve or get Pinterest help with?
I find it's multiple things. Website clicks for sure. But a lot of them also have their own shops. And so it's also a completely different strategy in that sense, creating product pins, but also while you want to get them to shop the pins, you also want to have a higher impression and higher reach for your shop. So that's also a completely different strategy. So I would say, if an interior designer has a shop, it's at least 3 to 4 different strategies inside the Pinterest platform.
Okay. And then you just said, okay, so here's what I suggest. Grab a piece of paper and then draw it out. What should they be asking? Like, what are they drawing out? Like, what should they be asking themselves and kind of creating this plan? What are some of the things there that they should consider or ask themselves?
I would first go in, ask the negative questions, like, what are we missing Why aren't our ideal clients finding us? And, what could we improve? And then based on that, what are the current marketing strategies that we have right now? Usually they just have, word of mouth and are occasionally posting on Instagram. That's normally the case for most interior designers.
Which is not the most strategic thing. It's just a thing that happens in their business. But like so I like the idea of starting with a negative thing, but sometimes they may not have the answers to that, like what's missing or what's not working. But I like the idea of starting with, what are we currently doing and what's working and what's not working out of all the things that we're doing right now.
Yeah.
So would that sound like the right first step?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why normally I like asking these questions, because normally I do have the answers and I can analyze, what their actual marketing strategy is missing. But if you're just doing it yourself, those are the main questions that I would ask. And then, say, hey, Pinterest is a platform that you can use in so many different ways, and it can help with all of these things that are missing. So I feel like most interior designers really want a higher following on Instagram. And so I would already start with like, here is the Pinterest one strategy. And then, fill it up with really branded and nice copy, and even, recycle the Instagram captions to Pinterest itself. Obviously rewording it just a little bit, but still the call to action should be to follow on Instagram and to link to Instagram. And then, the Pinterest 2 strategy could be actually linking to your website and having a call to action to, book more projects or check out a bigger portfolio. And that would be already also a different strategy with branded content and, calls to action. And then what else could they be asking? Oh, a higher reach. We want a higher reach in general on Google. And that would be getting a bigger keywords, finding out, where our ideal clients are located, and creating a pin that is interesting and engaging to them, but also that can in itself sort of go viral and could be reshareable toward inside Pinterest itself. Because the more that people share your pins, the higher a reach and the more searchable you are in, even on Google. So you do want to have these engaging pins that people can, start saving and sort of becoming its own like web in itself inside Pinterest. Because once they start getting more reshares, it basically means that, the more SEO you have on Google itself. So the more, yeah, that's basically it. The more visible you already are online.
Okay, so that's great. So let's say maybe they've done that, or maybe the designers that they're listening to this episode recognize that they don't have time or knowledge or expertise to do that, and they want to hire an expert. So can you walk us through a bit of your process in terms of where, if designers want to hire you to do something like that, what does your process look like?
I think we sort of went through it. It is a onboarding questionnaire, asking all of these questions, obviously like a lot more questions, but those are the basics, what you're looking for, what are your goals, what are you missing, why did you even come to me? And then based on that, I would also, have their branding and their ideal client questionnaire. So they would also be filling that out, what words they like, what words they don't like, what locations they want to target. Some are even completely okay, actually just doing remote work. And so I would also, be strategic on working with that. But yeah, those are the main things that I would need to start working with them. And then obviously those high-end professional photos. And then I would have a 1 month onboarding, which is basically to revamp completely their Pinterest page. I would be creating all of these pins and all of these boards and putting SEO searchable keyword descriptions that are still engaging and branded, but that ideal clients can reshare, and that would also increase the Google juice.
And do you help people? Do you help them find those SEO keywords, or do you kind of refer them to an SEO strategist to identify, well, what are the keywords that they should be ranking for?
Normally, I do help them find it. Yeah, it's normally very straightforward. interior designer in Montana. And then obviously, their specific style of projects and, what if they are more kitchen and bath designer, if they are a full service designer, I would be researching all of these keywords. There are a few websites that even do that for you. But yeah, for now, that's the way that I work. I love your idea, though, of working with an SEO expert. That would be really fun in the future.
Sounds good. Okay, well, that's great. So can you tell us, Emanuela, how can people find you?
On Instagram right now, Marketing Interior Designers. On my website, Marketing Interior Designers. And I do have my own Pinterest, but it is not good because I have been focusing on client content and lacking on my own.
Sounds good. It's the shoemaker without the shoes.
I know. Yes.
Okay, sounds good. So I have one last question that I typically ask my my guests, and it's, what is the one practice or habit you've implemented that has been game-changing for your life or your business?
Do I have to say one?
You can do a couple.
I'm gonna go with two. The first one is very corny, but it really helps, which is blasting a really loud song in my car and singing to it. I know, right? You're already nodding.
Awesome.
Like, oh, I love that.
That's good.
Yeah, I think it really ups the mood, and you're not thinking about anything else. You're not worrying about anything else. And I know that you definitely know this, but as entrepreneurs, we're always, thinking about what's wrong, thinking about what's the next project. And I feel like you can't do that once you're just singing along to a tune in your car.
Love that.
Right? The second one is more business focused, which is, especially in the social media realm, things change really, really quickly. So I do research, what's going on, what are the changes on each of these platforms, because everything changes. And so your strategy has to change along also, like, every few weeks. And so I feel like that's really important to not just do the same thing every time, but you do have to keep up with it.
I like that. That's great. Well, Emanuela, thank you so much. This has been so great. I really hope listeners found it very informative and will consider Pinterest for their marketing strategy. And if they are looking to outsource something, that we'll link your information below inside the episode show notes. And again, thank you so much for being the guest.
Thank you so much, Masha. I am loving your actual podcast and all of the episodes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Marketing for Designers. This is Masha Cohen signing off. See you next week.